My beloved child, I know why you are here today. I know the weight you woke up with this morning. I know the numbers that keep running through your mind, the bills that are due, the account that is empty before the month is over, the debt that has been growing quietly, steadily, like a tide that never fully goes back out. I know the shame that comes with it, the conversations you avoid, the calls you do not pick up, the envelopes you cannot bring yourself to open. I know all of it, and I need you to hear me today. You are not being punished. You are not forgotten. And this is not where your story ends. I am speaking to you right now, specifically, because you need to hear something that the world around you is not saying. The world says that financial struggle is a personal failure, that if you were smarter or more disciplined or more capable, you would not be where you are. The world says that the debt you carry is a reflection of your worth as a person, that you should be ashamed, that you should hide it, that you should suffer in silence and figure it out alone. I am not the world, and I am telling you something completely different. I am telling you that I see the whole picture. I see not just the debt but the circumstances that created it. I see the medical bills that arrived when you had no choice. I see the job that disappeared without warning. I see the relationship that ended and took half of everything with it. I see the decisions you made that you wish you could undo and the ones that were made for you that you had no control over. I see all of it, and I do not see a failure. I see a person who has been carrying something very heavy for a very long time, mostly alone. You do not have to carry it alone anymore. I want to tell you about a man in scripture who understood financial devastation in a way that most people never have to experience. His name was Job. Job lost everything, not gradually, not over time, but in a series of catastrophic events that stripped him of his wealth, his livelihood, his family, and his health in what felt like a single terrible moment. He went from being one of the most prosperous men of his time to sitting in ashes with nothing, and the people around him, the ones who were supposed to comfort him, told him that his suffering was his own fault, that he must have done something wrong, that his losses were a sign that I had turned my face away from him. They were wrong. Job had not done anything to deserve what happened to him. His losses were not punishment. They were not a reflection of his character or his worth. And I had not turned my face away from him. I was present through every single moment of his suffering. I was watching, I was working, and at the end of the story I restored to Job double everything he had lost. Double, not the same, double. That is the kind of God I am. I do not just restore to where you were, I restore beyond it. I do not just bring you back to zero. I bring you into abundance that makes what you lost look small by comparison. And Job's story is not just a historical account. It is a promise. It is a picture of what I do for my children when they hold on through the storm. Hold on, your restoration is coming. I want to talk to you now about the shame, because I know that for many of you the debt itself is not the hardest part. The hardest part is the shame that comes with it. The feeling that you have failed at something fundamental, that you cannot manage your life the way a capable adult is supposed to. That if people knew the full picture of your finances, they would think less of you. That you are one unexpected expense away from a crisis you do not know how to manage. That shame is a lie, and it is a lie designed specifically to isolate you. Because shame thrives in silence. Shame loses its power the moment it is brought into the light, and the enemy knows this. So he uses the shame of financial struggle to keep people isolated, quiet, and unable to receive the help that is available to them. Whether that help comes from me, from other people, or from practical resources they do not know about. I want to break that shame today. Right now, in this moment. There is nothing about where you are financially that makes you less valuable in my eyes. There is nothing about the debt you carry that changes how I feel about you. You are not worth more when your bank account is full and worth less when it is empty. Your value was established before you were born, and it does not fluctuate with your financial circumstances. You are my child, you are loved, you are valuable, and your current financial situation is a chapter, not a conclusion. Let me tell you about provision, because I want you to understand something about how I work in this area that might shift the way you are seeing your situation. I provide in ways that are unexpected, in ways that do not follow the logic of the natural world, in ways that look like coincidence to everyone watching but that I know as the precise and deliberate movement of my hand. Think about the widow in scripture who had only enough oil for one last meal. She was not just struggling financially, she was at the end. One meal left. After that, nothing. And yet when she acted in obedience and faith, the oil did not run out. It kept flowing long past what was natural, long past what made sense, until every container she had was full. That is who I am. I am the God of the oil that does not run out. I am the God of the provision that defies natural explanation. I am the God who takes what looks like the end of your resources and turns it into the beginning of something you did not expect. I am not limited by your bank account. I am not restricted by your credit score. I am not constrained by the amount of debt you are carrying. None of those things are too large for me to work with. None of those situations are beyond my ability to move in and change. What I need from you is not a perfectly managed financial life. What I need from you is trust. The willingness to bring your situation to me honestly, to stop hiding it in shame, and to believe that I can do something with it that you cannot do alone. I want to talk now about practical faith, because trusting me does not mean doing nothing and waiting for money to appear. It means trusting me while you take the next faithful step. It means believing I am working while you do what is in front of you to do. Sometimes the next faithful step is making a phone call you have been avoiding. Sometimes it is sitting down and writing out the full picture of where you are financially, as scary as that feels, because clarity is the beginning of a plan. Sometimes it is reaching out for help from a resource you did not know existed. Sometimes it is having an honest conversation with someone you trust about what you are going through. I will guide you to the next step. You do not have to see the whole staircase, you just have to take the next step, and I will show you what it is if you ask me. Come to me with the full picture, not the edited version, not the version that makes it sound less bad than it is, the real version, all of it, and let me meet you there, because I specialize in exactly where you are right now. I specialize in the situations that look hopeless from the outside. I specialize in the provision that arrives when there is no natural explanation for where it came from. I specialize in the doors that open when every other door has closed. Your situation is not too far gone for me. There is no amount of debt that is beyond my ability to move on. There is no financial hole so deep that I cannot reach in and lift you out. I have done it before. I am doing it for people right now, and I will do it for you. Do not give up. Do not let the shame keep you silent. Do not let the size of the problem convince you that I am not able to handle it. I am able, I am willing, and I am already moving. Let me pray with you before we continue. Father, I lift up every person who is listening to this message today while carrying the weight of financial struggle. Every person who woke up this morning with numbers running through their mind. Every person who is ashamed of where they are and afraid of what comes next. I ask that you meet them right where they are today. Not where they wish they were, where they are. In the middle of the debt and the fear and the shame and the uncertainty. Let them feel that you are not disappointed in them. Let them feel that you see the whole picture and you are not overwhelmed by it. Let them feel that provision is coming, that restoration is real, and that their current situation is a chapter and not a conclusion. Give them the courage to take the next faithful step. Show them what it is, and let them trust you enough to take it. In your name, amen. I want to stay with you a little longer on this topic of shame, because I do not think we can move past it without really sitting in it for a moment. The shame of financial struggle is one of the most isolating forces I have ever seen operate in a person's life. It is different from other kinds of shame because it is so tied up in the cultural narrative of what it means to be a responsible adult, a good provider, a person who has their life together. And when your finances fall apart, it feels like evidence that you have fundamentally failed at something that every capable person is supposed to be able to do. But I want to ask you something. When did you decide that your financial circumstances were a reflection of your worth as a human being? When did you accept the lie that the number in your bank account tells the truth about who you are? Because it does not. It never has, and it never will. Some of the most financially devastated people I have ever walked with have been some of the most faithful, hardworking, loving, and integrity-filled people you could imagine. And some of the wealthiest have been some of the most spiritually bankrupt. The money does not tell the story. I tell the story. And the story I am telling about you is not one of failure. It is one of someone who is in a hard season, who's been carrying more than they should have to carry, who has needed help that was not always available, who has made the best decisions they could with the information and resources they had, who is still here, still fighting, still believing enough to listen to a message like this one. That is not a failure. That is resilience. And resilience is something I value more than a clean balance sheet. I also want to talk to you about comparison, because financial struggle is made so much harder by the constant visibility of other people's apparent prosperity. Social media shows you the vacations and the new houses and the celebrations and the abundance. And it is very easy to look at that and feel like everyone else has figured out something you have not. What you are not seeing is the debt behind the vacation, the mortgage stress behind the new house, the relationship strain behind the celebration. You are seeing a curated highlight reel and comparing it to your unedited reality. And that comparison is not fair to you. Stop comparing your inside to someone else's outside. Stop measuring your financial reality against a performance of prosperity that may not even be real. Your journey is your journey. Your timeline is your timeline. And I am working in your specific circumstances with full knowledge of everything that has contributed to where you are. I am not comparing you to anyone else. I am meeting you exactly where you are and working with exactly what is true about your situation. That is enough. You are enough. And where you are right now is exactly where I can work. I want to tell you one more story before we close this first part. The story of the prodigal son. A young man who took everything his father had given him and spent it, all of it, wasted it on things that did not last, and found himself at rock bottom, broke and hungry and ashamed, in a place so low he was envying the food being given to pigs. And then he came to his senses. He remembered his father. He made the decision to go home, not expecting to be restored to his former position, just hoping to be taken in as a servant because even that would be better than where he was. But what happened when he came home? His father saw him while he was still a long way off. His father ran to him. His father did not wait for the explanation or the apology. He ran. He embraced him. He put the best robe on him and a ring on his finger, and called for a celebration. Not because the son had earned it, not because he had fixed the mess he had made, not because he had paid back what he had wasted, but because he had come home, because the relationship was what mattered, because love does not wait for conditions to be met before it runs toward the one it loves. That father is me. and you are the one coming home. Whatever decisions led to where you are financially, whatever the story behind the debt, come home, bring it all to me. The shame and the fear and the full picture of the mess and the grief over what was lost. Come home, and watch me run toward you, because that is who I am, and that is what I do. And it is what I am doing right now, in this moment, as you listen to this message and consider whether there is still hope. There is hope, I am hope, and I am running toward you right now.
My beloved child, I need you to stop whatever you are doing right now. Because what I am about to tell you is something you have needed to hear for a very long time. You were abandoned. I know that. I know who left. I know how it happened. I know what it cost you. And I know that the wound it left is still there, even now. Maybe it was a parent who walked away when you needed them most. Maybe it was a friend who disappeared when life got hard. Maybe it was a partner who chose someone else. Maybe it was a community that turned its back. Maybe it was someone you trusted completely with the most tender parts of yourself. Whoever it was, whatever they did, I need you to hear this clearly today. Their leaving was not the final word on your life. It was not a verdict on your worth. It was not a sign that you are unlovable. And it was not something I allowed because I did not care about you. I care about you more than you will ever be able to fully understand in this lifetime. More than any human being has ever been able to show you, more than the best love you had ever received. And I need you to understand something today that will begin to change everything. I never left, not for a single moment. Not when they walked away, not in the silence that followed. Not in the nights when the abandonment felt heaviest, not when you could not feel me. Not when you stopped looking for me, not once, not ever. I was there in every moment they were not. I was present in every place they left empty. I was watching, and grieving with you, and holding you in ways you could not always feel, but that were just as real as anything you had ever touched, or seen, or heard. I never abandoned you, and I never will. Let me tell you why this matters so deeply today. Because abandonment leaves something behind. It leaves a wound that does not just hurt, it teaches, and what it teaches is a lie. The lie that abandonment teaches is this: if someone who was supposed to stay left, then maybe I am the kind of person that people leave. Maybe I am too much for people to handle. Maybe I am not enough to make someone want to stay. Maybe there is something fundamentally wrong with me that makes people go eventually. That lie is one of the most destructive things the enemy has ever planted in a human heart. Because it does not just wound you once, it wounds you every time a new relationship begins. It wounds you every time someone gets close. It whispers, they will leave too, just like the others, they always leave. And sometimes that lie has been shaping every relationship you have had since. Sometimes it has made you hold people at a distance to protect yourself from the pain of losing them again. Sometimes it has made you hold on too tight out of the deep fear of the same loss repeating. Sometimes it has made you settle for less than what you truly deserve because at least less feels safer than hoping for more. I want to address that lie today, directly, completely, once and for all, because you have carried it long enough. You are not the kind of person that people leave because something is wrong with you. People left because of what was wrong with them, because of their own wounds, their own fears, their own unhealed places, their own choices, their own inability to give what you needed. Their leaving was about them. It was never, not once, about your worth. And I need you to hear this. The people who stayed in your life, even if there have only been a few, even if sometimes has felt like only me, are more than enough to prove that you are worth staying for. Because I have stayed. Through everything you have been through. Through every season that tested you. Through every mistake you have made. Through every moment you pushed me away. Through every time you doubted I was even real. Through every season you stopped praying and stopped reaching and stopped believing. I stayed. I am still here. And I am not going anywhere. Let me tell you about a woman in Scripture who understood abandonment deeply. Her name was Hagar. Hagar did not choose her circumstances. She was a servant who had no power over what happened to her. She was used and then discarded when she became inconvenient. She was sent away into the wilderness with her child and almost nothing else, no plan, no provision, no path forward. Abandoned by the people who were supposed to protect her. Cast out into a desert with no clear direction, running out of water, running out of strength, running out of hope. Sitting down at a distance from her child because she could not bear to watch him suffer and could not figure out what to do. She had hit the absolute bottom, not because of anything she had done wrong, but because someone else had made a choice that sent her into the wilderness. And then I appeared, not to the powerful ones who sent her away, not to the ones who had the resources, and the status and the comfortable life. To her, in the desert, in the abandonment, in the most desperate and hopeless moment of her life, I called her by name. I asked her what was wrong, not because I did not know, but because she needed to be heard. I saw her, in a moment when everyone else had turned away. I turned toward her. I showed her a well of water she had not been able to see through her tears. I gave her a promise for her child's future. I told her that she was seen and known and that her story was not over. And I want you to know that what I did for Hagar is what I do for every person who has been sent into a wilderness by someone else's choice. I see you. I call you by name. I show up in the desert. And I do not leave you there. Hagar called me El Roi, the God who sees. Because in that moment of abandonment, what she needed more than anything else was to know that she was not invisible. That someone saw her, that her pain was witnessed and not simply absorbed into silence as if it did not matter. You are not invisible to me. Your pain is real and it is witnessed. I see every tear you have cried over the people who left. I see every night you lay awake replaying the moment someone walked away. I see every time you have had to explain an absence that was not your fault. I see every place in your heart that is still tender from the wound of it. And I have never looked away, not once. I want to talk about what abandonment does to our ability to trust. Because many of you are not just wounded by the past. You are carrying that wound into everything new, into every new relationship, into every new connection, into every new beginning that asks you to open up again. And the wound is making it hard to receive what I am trying to give you. It is making it hard to believe that this time could be different. That someone could actually stay, that you could actually be safe. When someone has been abandoned, trust does not come naturally anymore. It has to be rebuilt slowly and carefully. And rebuilding it is terrifying because every time you open yourself to trust, you are risking the same pain again. I understand that. I do not ask you to trust blindly. I do not ask you to pretend the wound is not there. I do not ask you to skip the healing and simply decide to be okay, but I do ask you to start with me. Before you try to trust another human being, let me show you what trustworthy looks like. Let me demonstrate, over time and through experience, what it means to be with someone who does not leave. Let me be the foundation on which your ability to trust is rebuilt, because I will not abandon you. That is not something I am capable of. It is not in my nature. It is not in my design. I am not like the people who left. I do not leave when things get hard. I do not leave when you disappoint me. I do not leave when you push me away. I do not leave when you doubt me. I do not leave when you cannot feel me. I do not leave when you are not at your best. I do not leave when you have nothing to offer. I stay. I have always stayed, and I always will. I want to talk to you about the grief of abandonment, because grief is real and it deserves to be honored. Not performed, not suppressed, honored. When someone leaves, especially someone who was supposed to stay, there is a real loss that needs to be grieved. Not explained away, not minimized, not told to hurry up and be over. Grieved, the relationship you thought you had, the future you had imagined, the version of yourself that existed in that relationship, the trust you gave that was not honored. All of that deserves to be mourned, and I want to be with you in that mourning. I do not stand at a distance from your grief and tell you to get over it. I sit with you in it. I hold space for it. I grieve with you the things that were lost and the things that were stolen and the things that should have been different. And when the grief has done its work, when it has moved through you and left in its wake a space that was not there before, I want to fill that space with truth, with healing, with hope, with the certain knowledge that I am here and I am not going anywhere. Let me pray with you before we continue. Father, I lift up every person right now who has been wounded by abandonment, every person carrying the lie that they are the kind of person people leave, every person whose ability to trust has been broken by someone who should have stayed, every person who is in the grief right now, the loss that was not their fault. Begin the healing today. Replace every lie with the truth of your love. Let them feel, in this moment, that you are here, that you see them, that you have never left and you never will. Give them the courage to grieve what was lost, without making it mean something false about their worth. And give them the hope to believe that healing is possible and that what comes next is better than what was lost. In your name, Amen, I want to speak to you now about something that many people who have been abandoned struggle to talk about openly. And that is anger. The anger that comes with being left. The anger at the person who walked away. The anger at the circumstances that led to it. The anger at yourself for not seeing it coming. And sometimes, the anger at me for allowing it to happen. I want to tell you something about that anger. It is allowed, it is real, it is valid, and I am not afraid of it. You do not have to pretend that you are only sad about what happened. You do not have to perform peace when what you actually feel is fury. You do not have to rush past the anger to get to the forgiveness before the anger has been fully felt. Anger that is honest and brought to me is not something I turn away from. It is something I sit with you in, because I understand why you are angry. I understand the injustice of it. I understand what it feels like to give something precious to someone who did not protect it. Bring me your anger, all of it, the raw and ugly and unfiltered version. The version you have been afraid to say out loud because it does not sound spiritual enough. The version that asks, why did you let this happen to me? Why did you not stop it? Why did I have to lose someone I loved or trust or depend on? Bring me all of it, because I can hold it, and I will not love you less for feeling it. And I will not leave because you expressed it. In fact, bringing your anger to me instead of carrying it alone is one of the most intimate things you can do. It means you trust me enough to be completely honest. It means you believe the relationship can hold the truth, and it can. I promise you it can. The Psalms are full of people who were angry at me and said so. Who asked hard questions, who felt abandoned and said, where are you? Why have you hidden your face? How long will you forget me? I did not reject them for those questions. I preserved their words and put them in the most read book in human history, because those questions are sacred. Because honest wrestling with me is worth more than polished performance from me. Bring me the anger, and let me meet you in it. And let me show you what I can do with a heart that is honest enough to feel everything and still choose to stay. I also want to speak to you about the people who have been watching you carry this wound, the ones who love you and have not known how to help. The ones who have said the wrong things or said nothing at all because they did not know what to say. They were not equipped to give you what only I can give. And that is not their fault. Human beings have limits. They are working with their own wounds, their own understanding, their own capacity for compassion which is real but finite. Do not be too hard on the people who could not hold your pain the way you need it. They were not designed to. Only I am designed to hold it completely. But also, do not close yourself off from the people who are trying. Do not let the ones who could not help become the reason you reject the ones who can. Because there are people in your life right now, or people coming into it, who have more capacity than you might expect. Let them try. Let them in, slowly, carefully, with appropriate boundaries. Let the trust rebuild at the pace it needs to. But do not shut the door entirely on human connection because some humans have hurt you. I am working through people too. Sometimes the healing I send comes through another person's hands. Sometimes the love I pour out flows through a human heart. And I do not want you to miss it because the wound has made you too careful to receive it. I want to close this first part by reminding you of something simple. Something you may have heard before but need to hear again today. You are not what happened to you. You are not defined by who left. You are not the sum of your abandonments. You are not the wounds you carry. You are my child, created with intention, loved without condition, chosen before you were formed, held through everything you have been through, and heading towards something that the wound could not take from you. That is who you are, and that is who you will always be. No matter who leaves, no matter who stays, no matter what the next season brings, you are mine, and I am yours. And that is enough. That has always been enough. My child, I want to continue speaking to you about something that abandonment often leaves behind that does not get talked about enough. It leaves behind a hunger, a deep and unrelenting hunger for the love that was withheld, for the presence that was removed, for the belonging that was taken, and that hunger is real. It is not weakness, it is not neediness, it is not something to be ashamed of or embarrassed by. It is the natural result of a natural need going unmet. You were created for love, you were designed for belonging. You were made for the kind of connection where someone chooses you, stays with you, sees you fully and remains. When that need goes unmet, the hunger for it does not disappear. It grows, and sometimes it drives people toward things that cannot satisfy it. Toward relationships that repeat the same painful pattern. toward substitutes that numb the ache without ever addressing the wound underneath, toward busyness and noise and distraction that keep the emptiness at bay without ever filling it. I want to be the one who satisfies that hunger, not as a substitute for human connection, because I created you to need that, and it is right and good and beautiful that you need it. That as the foundation, the source, the place where your sense of being loved does not depend on another person's choices. When you know, truly know, deep in your bones, that you are loved by me, completely and unconditionally and permanently, it changes everything about how you move through the world. You stop searching for love from a place of desperation. You start receiving it from a place of wholeness. You stop needing people to complete you and start allowing them to add to what is already full. You stop settling for whatever you can get and start having the confidence to wait for what is right. That is what I want to give you, a love so deep and so certain that no human abandonment can ever touch the root of it. A love that is the constant in a life that has known too much change. A love that does not leave when things get hard or complicated or costly. Let me tell you about another person whose story speaks directly to what you are carrying, a man named David. David was abandoned by the people who should have believed in him most. When the prophet Samuel came to his father's house to anoint the next king of Israel, his own father did not even call him in from the field. He presented every other son first, 7 sons. And not until Samuel had looked at each of them and said, "This is not the one," not until every other option had been exhausted, did anyone think to mention that there was another son somewhere out in the fields. David was not in the room when his destiny was being discussed. His own family did not see him as someone worth including in the conversation. He was an afterthought, the one you send to watch the sheep while the important people are inside. And I chose him, not the tall, impressive-looking one, not the one who seemed most qualified, not the one his family would have chosen. The one they overlooked, the one they left in the field, the one they did not consider worth calling in. Because I do not look at what people look at the outward appearance. People look at the obvious, the visible, the things that make someone seem valuable by the standards the world has established. I look at the heart, and David's heart was after mine. In the field, alone, tending sheep, he had been developing something that none of his brothers had. A relationship with me that was real and deep and forged in solitude and worship and the long quiet hours of a shepherd's life. The very thing that felt like exclusion was actually preparation. The field was not a punishment, it was a classroom, and what David learned there is what made him who he became. The people who overlooked David did not have the final word on his value. The people who left him out of the room did not determine his destiny. Only I determined that, and I determined it long before anyone else saw it. The same is true for you. The people who abandoned you did not have the final word on your value. The people who left did not determine your destiny. The ones who overlooked you, who did not call you into the room, who did not see what was in you, were simply not equipped to see what I see when I look at you. And what I see when I look at you is someone chosen, someone valuable, someone worth staying for, someone with a heart and a purpose, and a future that no one's leaving has the power to take away. You were not abandoned because you were not enough. You were overlooked by people who were not looking for what you carry. I have been looking for it all along, and I have found it. And I have never taken my eyes off of it. I want to speak now about the seasons where it felt like I myself had left you, because some of you are not just wounded by other people leaving. You are wounded by seasons where it felt like even I was not there. Seasons of prayer that seemed unanswered, seasons of reaching for me and feeling nothing. Seasons of pain so intense that you cried out and the heavens felt like brass. Seasons where you wondered, where are you? Do you see this? Do you care? Why won't you answer me? Why does it feel like you have gone silent? I want to address that directly, because that question deserves an honest answer and not a deflection. I was there, in every one of those seasons. In every one of those silences, my silence was not absence. My stillness was not indifference. My seeming distance was never actual distance. There are things I do in the quiet that require the quiet. There are works I accomplish in the waiting that cannot be done in the noise of activity. There are depths I build in a person during seasons of silence that the loud and busy seasons cannot reach. The silence was not abandonment. The silence was intimacy of a different kind. It was me doing something in you that required your complete stillness, your complete dependence, your complete turning inward to find what was always there. Because when every other voice goes quiet, when every distraction falls away, when the noise of the world stops and the silence stretches out long and wide, that is when you can hear me most clearly. That is when I can do my deepest work. That is when the things that were buried have space to surface. That is when the healing that could not happen in the midst of everything finally has room to begin. I was not absent in those seasons. I was closer than I had ever been, working in ways that the silence was necessary for, building in you what could only be built there. And everything that was formed in you during those seasons of apparent silence, the patience, the depth, the unshakable faith, the trust that holds even when it cannot see, the peace that does not depend on circumstances, that is the most valuable thing you carry. That is what I was building, and it is worth more than you know. I want to close by speaking directly to what comes next for you, because I do not only want to address the wound, I want to show you the future. I want to give you something to walk toward. What comes next is restoration. Not just healing of what was broken, but restoration of what was lost. Not just recovery to where you were before, but advancement into what you were always meant for. A restoration so complete that when you look back at this season you will be amazed at what I made of it. What comes next is belonging, real belonging, the kind that does not have conditions. The kind that does not require you to perform. The kind that does not leave when things get complicated. I am that belonging. And I am also bringing people into your life who will carry some of that with them. People who are safe. People who stay. People who will look at you and choose you and keep choosing you. Not because you are perfect. Because they see you and they want to. Those people are coming. Some of them are closer than you think. What comes next is purpose, the specific reason you are here. The thing I placed in you before any of the abandonment happened. Before anyone left, before any wound was inflicted. That purpose is intact. It was not damaged by what happened to you. It was not diminished by anyone's leaving. It is whole and it is waiting for the person you are becoming to step fully into it, and what comes next is testimony. The story you will tell one day about what happened to you and what I did with it. The story that will reach into someone else's wound and remind them that they are not alone. That healing is real and possible, that I do not abandon the people I love, that what felt like the end was actually the beginning of something greater. That story is being written right now, in this season, in this pain. In this moment of listening and choosing to believe that the one who made you has not forgotten you. Because I have not forgotten you, I am here, I have always been here. And I will be here when the next chapter opens and the one after that, and every chapter until the very last page. You were abandoned by people, I never will abandon you. Not today, not tomorrow, not ever. I am your God and you are my child. And that is something that nothing and no one can ever take from you. Let me pray over you now. Father, I lift up every person who has been listening to this message today, every person who has been abandoned, every person carrying the wound of someone who should have stayed and did not, every person who has made that wound mean something false about their worth, every person who has been afraid to trust again because of what trust has cost them before. Begin the healing today, not someday, today, right now in this moment. Replace every lie with the truth of your love. Let them feel your presence as the constant in a life that has known too much change. Let them know they are seen. Let them know they are chosen. Let them know they are loved with a love that does not end and does not leave and does not depend on what they do or who they are. Bring the right people into their lives. People who stay. People who are safe. People who reflect your faithfulness in the way they love, and let them step into the purpose you have had for them all along, whole, undiminished, waiting, ready to be lived. In your name, Amen. If this message spoke to your heart today, type 1 I am not abandoned in the comments. Let someone else who is hurting see that they are not alone in this. Share this with someone who needs to know that God has never left them. You never know whose life could be changed by one message at the right moment. Subscribe to God's Voice today and turn on notifications. Every single day there is a fresh message here waiting for you. God is speaking. Make sure you are here to receive it. God bless you. I will see you in the next message. I want to add one more thing before we close today, something I need you to carry with you when you leave this message. Healing from abandonment is not linear. It does not move in a straight line from broken to whole. It moves in circles sometimes. It goes forward and then loops back. It feels complete in one season and then something happens, a song, a memory, a familiar feeling, and it surfaces again, That is not failure. That is how healing works. Do not be discouraged when something you thought was healed surfaces again. Do not tell yourself that you are back at square one. You are not at square one. You are on a deeper level of the same healing. Going deeper into the place the wound lives. Addressing a layer that was not ready before. Every time it surfaces, bring it to me again. Every time the grief comes back, let it move through you again. Every time the anger rises, bring it to me again. Every time the life whispers, speak the truth again. You are not going backward, you are going deeper. And deeper is exactly where healing needs to go to be lasting and real. I also want to speak to you about the gift that this season is building in you, because I never waste a wound. The capacity for compassion that abandonment creates in a person is something that cannot be manufactured, it can only be grown through experience. The people who have been abandoned and have allowed me to heal them become some of the most compassionate and perceptive and safe people in the world. They notice when someone is hurting in ways others miss. They know how to sit with pain without trying to fix it too quickly. They can hold someone's grief without flinching or walking away because they have known what it is to need someone to stay and have them leave instead. That is a gift, a painful one, a gift you did not ask for and would not have chosen. But a gift nonetheless, and I intend to use it. I intend to use everything you have been through in the service of something beautiful. In the service of someone else who will need exactly what you have learned. Who will need someone who has been where they are and made it through. Who will need proof that healing is possible, that I am faithful. That the wound does not have to be the final word. You are going to be that proof for someone. Your life is going to be the evidence that I do not abandon my children even when people do. That is not a small thing, that is a profound and sacred calling. So hold on, keep going, keep bringing the wound to me. Keep letting the healing move at the pace it needs to move. Keep believing that what I have promised is on its way, because you are not abandoned, you are held, you are seen, you are loved with a love that no human departure can diminish or destroy. And the best of what I have for you is still ahead. I am here, I have always been here, and I am not going anywhere. Not today, not tomorrow, not ever. You are mine. And I am yours, and that will never change.